And good to go. So welcome to the Commentary Hub's coverage of the FIFA 22 World Cup in Qatar. And it's a big one we have for you this evening as France, the world champions, look to begin their World Cup defence against Australia, a familiar foe from the 2018 World Cup, and who will be looking to try and prove a point, perhaps seeing how Saudi Arabia done against Argentina this morning, winning 2-1. Can they be the next team to cause a massive World Cup shock? And can France break the duct of World Cup champions who just seem to constantly keep going out at the group stage, as we have seen over the past 20 years or so? I'm joined by Sean Kelly. How are you doing today, Sean?
All good, Jack. Thank you. Looking forward to this one.
Yep, and just running into the game then, what do you think that we're going to expect from this game this evening?
I don't know, like France traditionally slow starters in these tournaments. Like they never seem to light up in the group stages, but after seeing what happened to Argentina today, I think all they'll want is 3 points, no matter how they get it, just to get a winning start and get themselves into the knockout stages, because they have the players to turn it on if they need to. But and I think with the injuries and stuff as well, it's just going to be about getting 3 points tonight. I'm not expecting it to be delightful, thrilling football from them, because traditionally under Deschamps that's not happened. For Australia, God, they've got to be buoyed by what they saw earlier on. I mean, they didn't exactly come through qualifying brilliantly, but they're here now and they've got nothing to fear.
Yeah, absolutely. The qualifying was a mixed bag. They were the first team in the Asian qualifying history to go 11 straight games winning, and then it was in that next round of the qualifiers where they just fell apart. They finished third in that qualifying and then had to slog it all the way to Peru in a playoff final where they narrowly won on penalties. So it definitely wasn't. They didn't get here the easy way, that's for sure. But they'll definitely, I think, be up for it. Talking about that idea of, we've seen it in 2002 when France went out. We've seen it in 2010 when Italy went out. 2014 when Spain went out. 2018 when Germany went out. Surely France, that will be playing at the back of their mind as well. That, as you said, they need to get a win to get off the board and show that they're not going to be the next team to go and end up doing that.
Surely they won't. I mean, you have to take a look at the group sometimes before it was drawn out. Or sorry, after it was drawn out, I thought that France and Denmark are the two clear favourites there. Now Denmark and Tunisia have drawn today. So France really have no one to blame but themselves if they don't manage to get out of this group. It's inexplicable what's happened in the past. These defending champions just completely messing up next time out, but I wouldn't expect France to follow suit. I think they're going to break that cycle this time.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. And again, looking at the group this year, it's a very familiar group from the one that they had in 2018. They're playing Australia, again, who they beat by 2-1 in 2018. They're playing Denmark, who they drew with in 2018 as well. And the Peru are obviously not at the World Cup at the expense of Australia.
But I don't know about... Sorry, Jack. I don't know about you, but I really... I was disappointed when that came out in the draw. Same with Brazil's group. You want to see a bit of freshness and a bit, some new matchups, not something you saw in the previous tournament.
Absolutely, and it's kind of head scratching how it does always end up the same teams. You notice that as well, funnily enough, in the Champions League, that it all just seems to be the same teams that come out of those games. Anyway, As the national anthems are playing, I'm going to run through the team news for both teams, starting with France. Hugo Lloris starts in goals. There's a backline of Benjamin Pavard, Ibrahima Konate, Dayot Upamecano, Lucas Hernandez. It's a holding midfield two of Aurelien Tchouameni of Real Madrid and Adrien Rabiot. An attacking midfield three of Ousmane Dembele on the right, Kylian Mbappe on the left, and Antoine Griezmann playing behind Olivier Giroud. If Giroud gets himself 2 goals this evening, he will match Thierry Henry's France record of 51 goals. But the big news before was no Karim Benzema. What do you think the impact that's going to have going into this major tournament? No Karim Benzema and no Nkunku either.
Yeah, it's going to have a massive impact. Benzema, Ballon d'Or winner, incredible year last year for Real Madrid. Sorry, mate. Um, and it's funny that, well, not funny, but Alexia Putellas missed the women's Euros as well. Ballon d'Or winner. Mane's out. Just another. Mane was second in the men's Ballon d'Or. It's another weird quirk of what's happened this year, but it is a big blow for France. But Giroud suits this team. He knows the system inside out. His record speaks for itself. So I don't think it's as disastrous as it perhaps is. Perhaps people might think.
Well, of course, they won the World Cup in 2018 completely without Karim Benzema. And for Australia, then, they line up with Matty Ryan in goals, a backline of Asics BH, Kyle Rose of Heart of Midlothian, Harry Suter, and Nathaniel Atkinson also of Heart of Midlothian. It's a midfield three of Jackson Irvine, Aaron Moy of Celtic, and Riley McGree of Middlesbrough, and an attacking three of Craig Goodwin, Mitchell Duke up front, and on the right, it's the ever reliable Matty Leckie, playing in his third World Cup tournament and his sixth major tournament overall for Australia. But the one big omission for them, not too sure how familiar you are with Scottish football, but there was Martin Boyle, a big player for Edinburgh Hibernian, a big player for Australia, and again, another player suspect to injury, like seems to be the case in so many of the national teams. And again, is that another player that is just a massive miss for them? You talk about with France, obviously Benzema, but N'Golo Kante as well. And with Australia, you've got a similar situation with players like Martin Boyle missing out also.
You never like to see these players missing tournaments, particularly ones who are of massive importance. I go back to Mane, like that's Senegal's talisman missing, whereas for Australia, Boyle could have had an impact up front, especially when you're lacking maybe that bit of quality in your squad anyway to have an impact against the top teams. You really need everyone on hand. Notice they called up to replace him a player from Marco Tilio from Melbourne City. He's only got 5 caps, so like really lacking in experience. Um, they're just I'm going through the squad. There is goals up front. Like Lecky has 13 international goals. Sometimes we just wonder what standard of opposition those goals were scored against.
Of course, absolutely. And on the bench as well, they have similar players who could come on, such as Jason Cummins, formerly a Scotland international, declared for Australia. He's only played, I believe, 2 games for them and has scored in one of them, so he could potentially make a difference off the bench. For France, of course, they've got experience all round. They've got Raphael Varane, the World Cup winner from 2018, on the bench. Stephen Danda, veteran goalkeeper. But alongside that, you've got Kingsley Coman, you've got Eduardo Camavinga of Real Madrid, Marcus Furman. You look at that bench and you think, if France are struggling this evening, then there is quality there that they can bring on.
All over the pitch. It's astounding when you look at the caliber of teams that the French players have been chosen from compared to the Australian. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches, as they say, for France.
Yep, absolutely. The teams are just getting ready to go, going into their respected huddles, and we could be looking into another potential shock, or it could potentially be a comfortable win for Deschamps' men this evening. What is your prediction then before the game is ready to kick off, Sean?
Hard to see past a France victory. I think Australia will be spirited. They normally are, but I think a France win. I'll go 2-0 France.
2-0 to France seems like potentially the right result for the French to get the World Cup underway and perhaps to settle any potential pre-tournament nerves coming into this. We talked about the issues with the previous holders trying to stay in the tournament. We talked about the fact that Saudi Arabia got perhaps one of the biggest World Cup shocks in recent, and even going back further, perhaps all time. And France will be looking for that not to happen as the game is ready to get underway. Victor Gomez the referee is about to blow us into action, and it's going to be Giroud to kick off. France attacking to the right, wearing their traditional navy blue with white shorts and red socks. Australia wearing their traditional colours of gold and green with white socks as well. We're just awaiting kickoff to start, and kickoff has started as France begin their defence of the FIFA World Cup, and the ball's with Chukamendi in the midfield. Goes back the way to Hernandez. It's in the back line of Kanate. Kanate to Upamecano. Upamecano to the left to Lucas Hernandez, who's playing on the left-hand side. Is Pavard on the right, of course, score of that famous goal in 2018 against Argentina on their way to World Cup victory. The ball's on the right-hand side now with Antoine Griezmann, most experienced World Cup player in the squad with 8 appearances and 6 goals. Ousmane Dembele on the right-hand side now. France starting lively, switches it all the way to Kylian Mbappe. Mbappe looking for the angle. He turns, one Australia player tries to get in the middle, and the ball is away. That is a ferocious start then for France, looking like they're trying to make a statement out here today, aren't they?
Trying to make a liar out of me. They've started fast there. Really taking it to Australia.
And they have just
the kickoff.
Won themselves a corner. We are just 1 minute in to this game. The corner to be taken on the far side. Waiting to see who it is that will be taking that. The referee just stopping, speaking to Antoine Griezmann. I believe number 16 of Australia, which would be Aziz BH. Still whipped in by Mbappe, flicked across, almost went to Antoine Griezmann, and it was hit away, followed by Ousmane Dembele, hit away again by Australia. Australia really under the cosh here, but they managed to win the ball well off of Hernandez and almost launched a counter-attack, but was fouled by Adrien Rabiot, another experienced player in the French midfield. And that was nearly a good opportunity there from the set piece for France to try and get the opening goal. It almost fell for Griezmann, but there was just too many Australian players on the back line there.
Australia will be doing well to ride out this early storm.
Absolutely, and they're getting a bit of the ball now with Atkinson on the right-hand side. Plays it to Matty Leckie. He tries to cut inside. Aaron Moy of Celtic is there. He is dispossessed, but Leckie's there to pick it up. Goes to Atkinson. He tries to switch it across, but a deflected effort falls, and he takes the shot away, and it's fizzed wide. It was an ambitious opportunity there from Riley McGree of Middlesbrough. Of course, was a Ballon d'Or nominee in 2018 with an outstanding flicked over the head goal from outside the box. I'm not too sure if you've ever seen that one, Sean, but it was quite incredible.
I'm not as aware of that one now.
No, it was absolutely incredible goal, but less so with that effort there, I believe.
You could see anyone pop up in those Pushkas awards at times.
Oh, absolutely. Goodwin on the ball now on the left-hand side. France are able to deal with it, but it's going to be another Australia throw-in in a dangerous position. BH to take. Falls to Aaron Moy. Back to BH. Gives it all the way back to Kai Rose. To Harry Souttar. Back to Rose on the left-hand side. Australia getting a good bit of the ball now. Looking to try and play that across field to Matty Leckie. Can Hernandez get there? He can. But his clearance is poor and it falls to Atkinson in the midfield. He's tackled, but Moy is able to pick up the ball. Riley McGree playing in the centre of the midfield. The ball plays out to Goodwin on the left. He tries to get the ball across, and France are able to deal with that. So Australia really not sitting back here. Aaron Moy on the ball now. Falls to Riley McGree. Tries to get it on the left-hand side, and it's just fizzes out of play. And promising signs there potentially from Australia. Can they potentially get something out of this game? They're not sitting back like we expected them to. Obviously, we are just 4 minutes in.
This is what we want to see. You want to see two teams going at it. I have to confess, I missed the earlier games today, Poland, Mexico, and Tunisia, Denmark. But by all accounts, it was quite cagey. We'd rather have two teams going for it.
Yeah, cagey is the best way to describe them.
Take the game to one another.
Absolutely, and I think when you're a team like, no disrespect, Australia, and you're coming up against the world champions, sometimes it is better to just have a go and go for it. But Kylian Mbappe is on the left-hand side now. He skips past the Australian defender, tries to cut inside, and it's hit away, cleared away well by Harry Souttar. It's going to be a throw-in a dangerous position for France to potentially cause some problems here, but they play it all the way back to Upamecano. Upamecano to Hernandez. Back to Upamecano. Looking for his options. He's got Adrien Rabiot playing in a partnership alongside Chukamendi. Very different from the midfield that we've seen in the 2018 World Cup. Of course, I said no. N'Golo Kante, who you would usually expect to be the real engine in their midfield. And that's a stray pass that goes all the way out for a throw-in to Australia. Tried to get it to Mbappe and it just wasn't good enough. But again, we talked about Karim Benzema being a big miss, but is potentially N'Golo Kante the biggest miss for them in this World Cup campaign?
Kante is a huge miss. Him and he and Blaise Matuidi at the last World Cup made a big difference to that team. It allowed the likes of Mbappe and Pogba to express themselves a bit more. And Pogba himself is also a miss. I know he's not played much football recently, but a player of his quality, you don't want to be going without.
Absolutely, and it looks like a very weaker midfield, to say the least, when you look at the names they have in there. Still talented midfielders, and Adrien Rabiot, who's got a bit of experience under his belt now, and Chukamendi, who's coming through the ranks at Real Madrid, but it's just not the same as the explosive players that you had back in the day, 2018, with players like Paul Pogba, who could really play in any position and excelled for France compared to his Manchester United form, and N'Golo Kante, who just seemed to do it everywhere he's went in football. And I think that will potentially show in this World Cup as their biggest weakness. They've got the ball at the moment. Aaron Moy up against Antoine Griezmann. He wins the ball, but Rabiot was there to try and intercept the loose ball when it goes out for throw-in. Aaron Moy recently joined Celtic. He was having a spell in China prior to that, but he's always been a mainstay in the Australian midfield. And Australia have the ball at back at the moment. Basic to Rose. Back to Matty Ryan. Ryan tries to play it across and it's intercepted well by Hernandez. Can he keep that in? He tries to keep it in and it goes all the way back to Matty Ryan. So the game, it started with an explosive attack from France. It's settled in a bit, but Australia have had it feels like they've had quite a bit of the ball this evening.
Yeah, they look quite comfortable. They're certainly not overawed by things so far, and they've settled in quite nicely, I think.
And they have the ball at the moment in the middle of the park. They're going to try and play it all the way across to Mitchell Duke, who hasn't really been in the game much. Kanati is there to tackle him. Upamecano even was there to tackle him. Goodwin will take the throw. Goes to Behic. Aaron Moy plays it all the way back. Australia have the ball in their own defence now. As Sean said, they're looking very comfortable on the ball and try and play a cross ball to Matty Leckie. That's a good touch. He gets past Hernandez. Can he get the ball across? It's a goal! It's a goal! Australia have taken the lead. Could we be in for another shock here? It's Craig Goodwin with the goal.
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. What a start for Australia. And a great goal as well.
Oh, a brilliant goal. Incredible play by Matty Leckie on the right-hand side to completely do Lucas Hernandez and put him onto the ground. He plays it across. And from there, nobody's picking up Goodwin at the back post. What a finish that was. And Australia take a 1-goal lead inside 10 minutes here in Qatar.
Yeah, that's not an easy finish by any means. It's coming at him hard. It's not far out, but he's done really well to keep that down, because that looked for all the world like he was going to put it over the bar, but he's kept it under. Great finish.
Oh, he's still got a lot to do there, hasn't he? He could have potentially maybe even looked for a square in the middle. The shot was that difficult, but when it lands that nicely for you, I think you've just got to take that, and he really takes it well. Good play there by Matty Leckie. He completely outdoes and outthinks Lucas Hernandez. Lucas Hernandez is on the ground now. He's potentially looking injured, and the French players were going over to him, so we're waiting to see what's happening with that.
They don't have to look very far to replace him if he does have to go off. His brother's sitting there on the bench.
With Theo Hernandez, yeah, that would be the perfect replacement for France, and he is still down on the ground. It seemed as if the bit of clever footwork there from Matty Leckie is what just completely sent Lucas Hernandez the wrong way, and then as a result of that, he landed awkwardly, I think, onto his leg. That's what's caused
Yeah,
that
it's
injury.
the change of direction almost that's done him from Lecky. It's brilliant play. There's no hint of foul play in it, but it's great play from Lecky, and I think he's just turned awkwardly there on his
Well,
knee.
we're seeing it in that slow motion angle. Is that lovely touch that he gets with his right foot to just get it past him, and it has just caused some issues for Hernandez. What a goal that was from Australia, getting it
What a
across.
what a start! What an opportunity now to you have something to hold. I mean, going into this game, having seen the draw earlier, Australia would have taken a point from this, no doubt. And without trying to sound too negative, they're in a great position to do that now, even though they have the lead. They'll be obviously hoping for more, but yeah, what a chance.
Yeah, well, I think at this stage, even at this stage, they would definitely bite a hand off any Australian for that point. For France, however, they've got to buck up their ideas. This did happen at the last World Cup. Could potentially be history repeating themselves. Australia took the lead at 1-0. France came back to win by 2-1, but what we might find is that this is a very different, and as we have been mentioning, this is a different France team from that of 2018, but it really would be a good show of character now if they can push themselves back into the game.
Can you imagine in future looking back on this day at the World Cup if things stay as it is?
Oh, it
I,
absolutely will be the most unprecedented day, I think, in World Cup history. It would have to be, surely.
I think it's quite good too because so far the Europeans and South American teams have beaten anyone from other confederations they've come up against, and we're seeing the usual stuff of how much better they are and things like that. It is nice to see upsets and teams from other parts of the world doing themselves proud. You don't want to see like we have the Euros every 2 years, the Copa America. We come to see teams from all over the place to make a good name for themselves, and just
But
we want to see upsets. We want to see good football.
it certainly does mix things up when it comes to the standings in the last 16 as well. If we have different teams and we have the so-called seeded team from the first finishing second, and then they come up against one of the better teams that finished first,
Yeah,
so it means that we potentially get some massive last 16 games if a couple of these top seeded teams end up finishing second in the
and
groups.
also have a good knock-on effect for the rest of the group. Like we're getting ahead of ourselves here. It's very early on, but if things hold as they are, these Group C and Group D should go down to the final day now, which is what you want. You don't want any dead rubbers going into the final match day.
Absolutely, you want it all to play for, and as I said, if things stay as they are, this would be massive. Australia looking very comfortable on the ball. France haven't really had much of a reaction. Had a corner there that Kylian Mbappe whipped in just about a minute ago. Nothing came of that. But I think more than anything, you kind of expected, so right, we're 1-0 down, let's push, let's show how good we are. But they just seem relatively flat at the moment, France, on the ball with a passing it along the back line. Chukwuemende on the ball. Antoine Griezmann's came in deep for support. Upamecano. Griezmann, that's a lovely ball to Kylian Mbappe of Theo Hernandez on the left-hand side, even, who is on for, as you said, his brother who's now went off injured.
That looks like a tournament ender potentially as well for Lucas Hernandez. I know he's up on his feet there by the end, but if he's twisted something in his knee, he'd be doing well to get back in the team for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, it'll be nervy moments for France, I'm sure, to add to even more of their injury woes and potentially another big player out of the
Yeah,
World Cup.
they've been very unlucky. I mean, it's not uncommon for teams to get lots of injuries, but for so many like key starters, like if that's him, as well, it'd be him, Benzema, Pogba, Kante. That's four of your first 11. Oh, sorry, Varane as well. I know Varane's in the squad, but that's unheard of. Really, to have half your team missing through injury.
And Kunku as well, who was expected to play a massive part in this tournament and pulled up in an injury in training. It was caught funnily enough, on video as well. A player who was expected to be a real shining star at this World Cup. This was meant to really be his World Cup. And again, another player who's versatile and striker in midfield, and they're missing out on him. That's a stray pass there from Rabiot. Jackson Oven on the ball, gets it back to Aaron Moy. That was a really loose pass there from the Frenchman. Moy trying to pass it forward. He's got Matty Leckie in support. That's lovely play. The referee has blown a foul. Stopped a good bit of play there by Australia. We are 15 minutes in to this game, live on the commentary hub with myself, Jack Hesson, and joining me, Sean Kelly. And it is France nil. If you're just tuning in, it is France nil, Australia 1. That's a long ball there from Atkinson. It goes all the way out for a France throw. And France really need to buck up their ideas in this game. I know it is only 15 minutes in, but I don't think anybody expected them to already be 1-0 down in this tournament.
Perhaps the curse of the defending champions is more real than I thought.
It could potentially be. Time will definitely tell. I mean, if they don't get the victory today, then they're coming up against a Denmark team who will be chasing a win. A Denmark team who, funnily enough, done the double over them in the Nations League recently, so they know the kind of threat that Denmark pose, and Denmark know that they can get one over on the French. So, I mean, I know we're only 60 minutes in talking about this already, but if they don't get the result today and they're coming up against a Denmark team who will also want 3 points after what they might consider a disappointing draw, how bad could this get for them?
I mean, it's set up an absolutely superb. Well, again, we are talking as if this game's finished. There's a long, long way to go. But if it does hold, what a Saturday we could have in store between this group in particular, France and Denmark. That's one of the games you looked at when the draw was made. Like, when is that going to be played? And it could have a colossal amount on the line.
Absolutely could, and France need to try and get a bit of optimism going forward to give the ball to Kylian Mbappe to do that, who plays a lovely flick to Theo Hernandez. Hernandez tries to skip past the Australia defender, get it back into the box to Giroud, but it's well intercepted by Aaron Moy, who's advancing forward to Jackson Oven on the ball. He's trying to play the ball all the way across to the goal scorer Craig Goodwin on the left-hand side. And Australia are just going to calm things down and get it back into the midfield. Aaron Moy now.
France are looking dangerous out wide, Jack. I think that's their best route to potential joy in this game.
Yeah, that seemed from the get-go to be their main outlet, especially, of course, when you've got a player of the calibre of Kylian Mbappe out in the left. And the thing with Kylian Mbappe, if you really want to and you really need to, you could probably throw him up front as well, and he'll be just as effective. We talked about the tools that France have on the bench as Ousmane Dembele is on the ball now, plays a lovely ball in the middle to Mbappe, tried to play a 1-2 with Giroud. It's well defended, but back with Ousmane Dembele in the middle of the park. Dembele, Mbappe, again tries to play a 1-2, and Australia are able to clear the ball away. Good defending from them there.
I think as disappointed as they'll be with Lucas Hernandez's injury and what caused it, I do think Theo Hernandez is much better going forward, and that's probably what they need now in this game, is someone like him. It'll allow Mbappe to go inside a bit more. He can overlap. And Lucas Hernandez is very solid at the back, but I don't imagine they're going to have too much defending to do at 1-0 down.
Definitely not. It seems like Australia will be set in for the long run. And Theo Hernandez already showing just a couple of minutes ago what he can do when he skipped past Atkinson to get the ball into the box. France have the ball at the moment. Ousmane Dembele on the right-hand side. Skips past one player, and that's an aggressive tackle by Jackson Oven. A very good tackle, you have to say, on Chukwuemeka, and really setting down a marker for how Australia are going to play the remainder of this game. In fact, it may have resulted in a foul. No, he actually won the ball. That was a great tackle.
Yeah, very firm tackle there. I have, like, from the games that I've seen so far, I have been quite impressed with the referees. I think they do tend to let quite a bit go, and they haven't been blowing up for like minor fouls, which has been nice.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed it in the Denmark versus Tunisia game that it was just a free-flowing game. There ended up not being a lot of added time. We'll touch on that as it is getting to half time. What the added time situation is. France have the ball at the moment. Again, good defending in the midfield. They're really filling up the midfield. Australia. France can't really get a footing in that particular area, which is a crucial area for them if they want to try and get something in the game. And the ball falls to Riley McGree now. Australia are going forward again. Craig Goodwin tries to play the overlap, but he switches it all the way across and it's deflected. Can Australia get the ball back? They can. France have the ball even. This man Dembele tried to get on the end of a pass, but Harry Suter was there to defend. Some great defending so far from Australia. So we're only 20 minutes in, but they're looking quite resolute so far, aren't they?
Yeah, they look very solid. Again, apart from a couple of moments, the fullbacks do look, I wouldn't say vulnerable, they're up against top class players, but aside from that, in the middle, Suter started well. They have looked okay so far. The keeper hasn't had really anything to do.
Well, that's a stray pass there, and he takes a shot, and oh, that was almost 2-0 to Australia. How close was that effort from distance there by Mitchell Duke? He almost caught Hugo Lloris out on the replay. It looks like it went a bit further, but it definitely had a lot of fizz on it, that shot.
I'll tell you what, that wasn't a million miles away.
Yeah,
really good strike.
Potentially have been 2-0 to Australia then. Actually, in actual fact as well, when you look at how this game's been, we're 21 minutes in. France 0, Australia 1. That's been the second best chance of the game besides the goal. France just haven't created anything yet.
I don't think Lloris was getting to that. He was scrambling there. That was a great strike. It's just a couple of inches wide.
Yeah, it certainly caught him off guard. Australia on the break now. Goodwin on the left-hand side. Plays it back to BH. Usman Dembele trying to tackle him. A bit of physical play there. BH shoves Pavard off the ball. The referee, as you said, is being certainly more lenient on any kind of physicality. So Australia have the ball at the moment in the back line with Kai Rolls. Tries to play the ball forward to Riley McGree. Well defended there by the France defender, Ibrahima Kanate.
This is a completely different France, Jack. The France of 4 years ago would not be giving Australia this kind of space in midfield. There's something not right here with the French team, picking up a lot of space in between the lines.
Well, that's the one thing that we seem to be noticing here is just in the midfield how weak France have been so far. They can't get a grip of the midfield. It feels as if Australia have that area completely covered to the extent where it feels as if they don't even need to throw everybody back the way because they've got the comfort in the midfield. But Kylian Mbappe on the left-hand side where the space can be exploited, he tries to get it past Atkinson, Matty Leckie there for support, and again, well dealt with by Australia. Another good example of how they are dealing with France's most attacking threats so far, 23 minutes in.
Yeah, they're still looking like France haven't really offered anything so far. Giroud's looked isolated up front, feeding off scraps. Griezmann's not been in the game. Mbappe looks quite lively out on the left, but
yeah, they've yet to have a shot on target. France, as we're saying, the two best chances of the game have been the goal and that spectacular effort by Mitchell Duke, which almost caught Hugo Lloris and just went wide. Would have, as you said, potentially Lloris wasn't getting there. So if that had been on target, then they're talking 2-0 at this stage. France potentially might feel like they've got away with one. And again, Australia have the ball in the midfield. If Aaron Moy tries to lump it up towards Goodwin, but every loose ball is just falling for Australia at the moment. They seem to be on top of absolutely everything. France on the ball at the moment. However, this is where the magic is with Kylian Mbappe. And again, well defended by Harry Suter. Kylian Mbappe looked like he was going into his stride there, and Harry Suter just stopped him in his tracks. And France on the ball now. Kanate to Pavard. Pavard back to Kanate, to Upamecano. And the ball goes to the left now with Kylian Mbappe, but there's too many Australia bodies in front of him, so he plays it back the way to Upamecano. To Pavard, who's moved into centre of the midfield there. Gets it to Ousmane Dembele on the right, tries to show a bit of trickery. It's well defended by Goodwin, the goal scorer, and he lumps it all the way back, and France are going to have to try and go again. They're on the ball now in the midfield. Switched across to Ousmane Dembele on the right. Gets a lovely pass into Antoine Griezmann. Can he get the shot away? Again, well defended, and it's going to be a France corner on the near side, even for Antoine Griezmann to deliver. France will just feel like at this stage, 25 minutes in, but they'll just even feel like they need a bit of luck now to try and get themselves back into the game. Can he get it where Griezmann hits him quick, and it's well defended by Australia, cleared out as far as Upamecano, and it's whipped back in. That's a lovely header, and that's a great goal by Adrien Rabiot. The French are back into the game. It's a ball into the box for the big man, Adrien Rabiot, to get his head onto. And France are back into this at 1-1.
Well, they weren't creating much from open play, so it's taken a set piece, but they've got their equaliser.
Yeah, that's exactly what they had to do there.
You would imagine now it's going to be full steam ahead, looking to get in front.
And just really looking at that there, they dealt with the corner, and it came back in. It's a lovely ball there to Adrien Rabiot, and Rabiot does really well to guide that past Matty Leckie.
Yeah, he's in absolutely acres of space. He does head the ball well. He's straining his neck there to head. It's a good header, but it's terrible defending from Australia to leave him with that much space in the box.
Yeah, and the upsetting thing for Australia will be that is really the first lapse in the defence that they've had this evening. Besides that, they've been absolutely stellar. And again, but when you're playing against the world champions, then one lapse of concentration could mean that eventually is going to happen.
I'm sure they're well drilled from set pieces and things, but it's those second phases sometimes where players switch off, and that's what's done them there.
Absolutely. How will Australia respond to this now? Matthew Ryan has just hit the ball out of play for France. Throw in. France will definitely potentially feel like that's the wake-up call answered.
Rabiot going some way to justifying his inclusion tonight anyway.
Yeah, of course. We're talking about how they've been missing players like Kante and Paul Pogba in the midfield. Midfielders that won them the World Cup in 2018. And place him as players like Adrien Rabiot. And Rabiot, who's perhaps had a mixed career to say the least, looked like a bright talent when he was a lot younger and has sort of fallen away from there, but he's still in amongst the top sides at Juventus and clearly playing at the World Cup and getting the goal to get his team back into the game.
Yeah, he's been okay for Juventus this season as a whole. They had started pretty poorly. They've picked up a bit in recent weeks, but Rabiot has been playing okay, considering he was almost out the door in the summer.
And it's another corner for France to take. They're going to opt for Antoine Griezmann to take this again on the far side. Is this going to be another opportunity for France to show strengths at set piece? Griezmann delivers, it goes all the way past Upamecano and falls to Ousmane Dembele. Dembele now, that second phase of play we're talking about. France are in it at the moment. Theo Hernandez, Antoine Griezmann delivers a ball again. Could it happen again? And it's Olivier Giroud with the header. Just can't get to grips with it, and it goes wide. But again, talking about that, as you mentioned, second phase of play from set pieces. France looking dangerous yet again.
Almost a carbon copy there. That would really frustrate Graham Arnold, because these are basics for your team. You don't mind being undone by a bit of magic or anything like that, but so if you're leaving players free in the box for headers, then drive the coach insane.
Yeah, replay showed that potentially would have been pulled back for offside if the VAR had its say, but it went out and we are playing again. Australia trying to potentially get to grips in the game. Aaron Moy with a botched clearance to recover, and he tries to play a forward pass to Mitchell Duke, and France have the ball yet again, 61% of possession so far in this game. And they're looking like, we're talking, 15 minutes ago, perhaps too soon, about how they were looking flat, but definitely that goal was sparked them into life a little bit here.
Yeah, I think perhaps we did get a bit ahead of ourselves, considering we were 15 minutes into the game.
Potentially, but there is an hour still to play, plus however much they decide to add for stoppages. France on the ball at the moment. Adrien Rabiot to Kylian Mbappe, playing a bit more central now. He's got Griezmann in support. Griezmann tries to play it across. That's a lovely pass to Rabiot on the left-hand side. He seems to be everywhere at the moment. To Hernandez. Back to Upamecano. Lovely pass in the middle, almost an intricate bit of play there. Australia able to deal with it, and Matty Ryan collects the ball comfortably. And Ryan has the ball now. He drops it to allow it to play out. Olivier Giroud is trying to put a bit of pressure on him. Griezmann trying to put a pressure on Jackson Irvine. It's a loose touch there. And can France take advantage of that? It's Rabiot. It's Giroud. It's 2-1. And the world champions do what the world champions do. And if you make mistakes like that, they will punish you. Olivier Giroud, 1 goal away from matching Thierry Henry's record. And the French are 2-1 up. Half an hour played.
Well, that was ruthless there from France, really capitalising on a poor defending at the back. I think it was Theo Hernandez nipping in to set up Giroud for the easy finish. When it's a half century of international goals now for the big man up front.
Yeah, sloppy play there. Matty Ryan tried to get the ball to Irvine. He was already too much space. Gets the ball to Atkinson. It's a loose touch from Atkinson. Rabiot putting good pressure on Mbappe there to pick up. Gets it back to Rabiot in the midfield. And from there, Australia are just caught like a deer in headlights. And Giroud is able to find the space and gets himself a tap in. And again, the real playmaker there was Rabiot, the goal scorer in the first one, and he sets up the second one. What an evening he's having, half an hour in so far, Adrien Rabiot.
Not a bad night's work for the Juventus man. I have to say on Giroud, what an underrated striker. I mean, he's not someone who's going to get you 20 goals a season, but someone that facilitates play for others, and 50 international goals himself, nearly their all-time top scorer now. Just doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Absolutely, he's ever reliable. I mean, we're talking before the game about Karim Benzema being out, but then you had to remember that they won the World Cup in 2018 without Benzema, and who was in there? It was Olivier Giroud at the time, and yeah, just a consistent goal scorer for his national team. Certainly compared to Karim Benzema, you would actually say that they're probably better off with Giroud up front than they would be Karim Benzema.
I think he suits the system a bit more. He allows Mbappe to get him behind. He brings out the best in Griezmann. Now, Benzema's all-round play is absolutely fantastic, but you just wonder, would he be floating out a bit to try and get involved with the play, whereas Giroud will stick there up front and allow others to a bit more freedom of movement.
And a loose tackle there from Aaron Moy almost puts in Mitchell Duke. He's not quick enough to get to the ball, and it goes out of play. So Australia really potentially relying on an act of God now to get them back into this game. However, it is still only 2-1, and anything can happen in this game. But France are pushing forward at the moment. Theo Hernandez to Mbappe on the left. He's dropped a bit deeper to play it to Upamecano. Adrien Rabiot, who's dropped in between Kanati and Upamecano, to Dembele, to Pavard on the right. Ousmane Dembele playing at the halfway line. Plays about with Griezmann, and France have the ball comfortably at the moment and looking comfortable in their lead as well. Chukamendi.
It's great to see Dembele back playing at this level again. He's had a tough time with injuries over the last few years. Delighted to see him getting a start tonight and just fulfilling that early promise he showed. He looked a great young talent at Rennes and Borussia Dortmund. Really hope he could kick on now because he's still only young.
He has. He's a real flair player, not been too consistent for Barcelona, but has been a Barcelona team with troubles at the moment. France on the ball, Kylian Mbappe plays it to Griezmann, almost falls to Giroud, and Australia are able to get the ball away. But as you were saying there, Ousmane Dembele has been promising in this game so far on the right-hand side, and there's one of those players where just a bit of magic, has a bit of magic in his feet, who'll be able to cause issues. And that
Australia need to get a grip on things here now. This game could run away from them if they're not careful.
Yeah, it's a strange one. They seemed so organised and so comfortable with their lead for about a 10-minute spell, and it's just seemed to have fallen away from them. And I think it's really shown. There's Ousmane Dembele on the right-hand side. Delivers a ball into Mbappe. It falls to Giroud. That was the record-equaling goal, and it didn't come for Olivier Giroud. It skied into the rafters.
Yeah, it's a good chance there for Giroud. Not the easiest in the world, but great play from Dembele down the right. Blistering pace there to get away from the fullback, and that's what he brings. And you play a high line or anything at your caution here with Dembele and Mbappe either side. They're like 100-meter sprinters, the pair of them.
Yeah, fouled for Giroud awkwardly there on the turn just behind him. The ball, but he managed to get the volley away, managed to get the shot away. Wasn't on target, but as you say, good play from Ousmane Dembele on the right-hand side. And France looking like the more likely to get that fourth goal of the game. We are only 37 minutes in to the game on the commentary hub. Australia have the ball at the moment. It's Suter going to try and get a bit of football in there, and it just falls away from them. France managed to get the ball again. It seemed in the first 20 minutes of the game that every loose ball was falling to them, and now it just seems to be the other way about. France seem to be the ones with all the momentum at the moment. Australia really would, at this point, go from wanting to try and hold on to the lead and hold on to the draw to just hoping it stays 2-1 going into the second half.
Yeah, if they need to try and get into half time now intact. If they got a goal, great, but they can't afford for it to go to 3-1 because then you're really staring down the barrel of a hiding then in the second half if they're not careful. This game's really turned in the last 10 minutes.
Absolutely, and still on the ball at the moment. The first real spell of possession it feels like they've had in a while in this game. They're playing it along the back line with Kyle Rose, Jackson Irvine coming in deep in support. He's got Moy and McGree to pass to, but he passes back the way to Rose to BH. Australia just looking to try and do something on the ball now after a real spell of dominance for France. Just trying to get perhaps that bit of magic like Matty Leckie done in the opening 8 minutes of the game to get the ball across, beat Lucas Hernandez and get the ball in the back of the net with Craig Goodwin. And again, that's a loose pass there from Goodwin, just tries to lump it forward. Mitchell Duke is going to try and put pressure on Chukwuemeka, and Riley McGree puts pressure on him, but it's out for France. Throw in. Australia went from, as we mentioned, being really organised and looking really comfortable, and now everything just seems to be going astray for them.
I think it's very difficult for a team like Australia. Obviously, they are quite well organised here, although they're up against a good side. Maybe it doesn't look it sometimes. They are quite well organised. They're very workmanlike, but they're just missing that star quality. You look at a team like Wales, who a similar kind of makeup to Australia, but they have that star influence in the likes of Bale and Ramsey, whereas Australia haven't really got that. They just haven't got that international quality of player. I mean, looking at the squad, the highest level is someone like Cadiz in Spain, which when you compare to France is just different level.
The ball's with Kylian Mbappe on the left-hand side. Can he get the ball into Ousmane Dembele? And it's miles wide by Ousmane Dembele, an awkward one for him there to try and get the shot away. Again, France showing their danger and Australia showing more defensive frailties. We're 40 minutes in here. It's France 2, Australia 1 in the World Cup. And nearly a mix-up there between the two French centre-halves. But they've got the ball at the moment.
I think France smell blood now, Jack. They're really going at this Australian team. I think they're looking to finish this off before half-time.
Another goal before half-time for France would almost certainly seal the deal for them, barring a minor miracle. And they are looking good for it with 40 minutes on the clock, plus added time. And as it's been reported, the refs have been informed to stop the clock at added time. But wait just a minute, because Mbappe's on the ball to Antoine Griezmann. Griezmann to Chukamendi. Chukamendi trying to get it across, plays to Pavard in support. Back to Chukamendi. Back to Pavard. Pavard looking for his options, and he plays it back the way to Kanate, and it's the ball's away in Australia comfortably, but it's a loose ball there. Chukamendi on the ball to Ousmane Dembele on the right. Can he get it into the middle when Mbappe and Giroud were there? And it's cleared for France. They're going to go again here. Antoine Griezmann. Griezmann to Pavard. Back to Griezmann in the middle. They'll switch the play across to the left-hand side with Upamecano to Chukamendi. Chukamendi to Mbappe. Lovely quick play to Ousmane Dembele on the right. Tries to get it back to Mbappe in the middle. It's cleared away, but the danger isn't over yet for Australia. Ousmane Dembele on the ball. Calls for a foul. Waved away. Dembele to Mbappe. Lots of Australia bodies in there. Griezmann takes a shot, and it fizzes wide to Matty Ryan's left-hand post. And again, France showing danger. Australia putting everybody in the box to try and block Mbappe. Griezmann gets a bit of space, but it's not enough to get it on target for France there.
I think a lot of Australians will be watching this with one eye closed at this stage. They're living on the edge here.
Yeah, another goal for France with the way they're playing at the moment, and it could be damage limiting for the Australians, but they'll feel like one bit of magic again will get them back into the game. Mitchell Duke on the ball on the right-hand side. He's not able to get up to speed with Upamecano, who's there to clear the ball. We're 42 minutes into the game. It's still France 2, Australia 1. As I was going to mention, the referees have been instructed to stop the clock for any and all stoppages, which means we have been seeing some excessive amounts of added time. I believe we had the longest match in World Cup history, or dating back to when it was recorded in 1966. That was 117 minutes for England versus Iran, and it seems like it's going to be a regular fixture in this tournament for the next month.
Not an issue with that, Jack. I think it'll cut down on you might see a lot of it at the start, but as the tournament goes on and teams realise that their time wasting is not getting them anywhere, then you'll soon see it go down.
So Australia on the ball at the moment. We'll find out in about a minute's time how much added time it is going to be. There's been a few goals in this half so far, of course. And France on the ball at the moment. Hugo Lloris, he's not had much to do outside of try and save the shot from Goodwin, and another opportunity that Australia had from distance with Mitchell Duke. But it feels like it's been a while since we've seen him involved in the game now. It's just been that dominant from France over the past 20 minutes or so now.
Yeah, Australia really struggling to get into the game now. Can't keep the ball, and when they can, it's not sticking up front.
Half-time cannot come quick enough for the Aussies, and France are on the ball at the moment. Griezmann to Pavard. They're just playing it along the back line, looking comfortable in possession. Rabiot to Upamecano. Looks for that cross ball to Antoine Griezmann. Can he get the shot away? He gets it into Kylian Mbappe. What a miss from Kylian Mbappe. That was it. That was the moment to seal the deal at half-time. And he's flung it from about 3 or 4 yards in front of the goal.
Unbelievable for a player of his standing. You're expecting the net to bulge there. Great play from Griezmann to set him up in the middle, and it's not even a difficult chance. He's just got far too much on it. Sent it over the crossbar.
Up into the goal, it's really good play. The lovely ball across to find Griezmann. Griezmann does really well to get it in the middle and tee up Kylian Mbappe, the wonder kid, who you really expect to score from that distance. Looking at the replay, they might have pulled that back offside. We'll never know because it didn't go that far. But he didn't know that at the time, and that could be a dangerous, well, it could be a misroad, even if Australia can manage to get back into this game somehow.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of chance you need to be taking. Someone like Mbappe as well. I mean, it's well reported how, say, confident he is. He'd be eyeing up the golden boot, and he won't be one of missing chances like that.
And there we go, announced by the referee. 6 minutes added time. Australia advancing forward now. A rare chance for them now. Riley McGree gets it into the back post to Jackson Oven. Oh, it hits the post. Oh, what an opportunity that was for Jackson Oven. And France are saved by the post after that massive miss by Kylian Mbappe just a couple of minutes earlier. And Australia are still in this game.
That's got to give them some confidence there, having looked like been pummeled there for about the last 20 minutes. If actually, when they've got the ball in forward areas, they've looked all right. It's just been difficult to get there, and that was a chance. It wasn't easy. It was a good header. Did well just to get anywhere near the goal, and France would have been disgusted if that had trickled over the line.
It's a great header, and Hugo Lloris is completely done there. He gets that on the target in the direction it was going. It's almost certainly a goal for Jackson Oven to get Australia back into this game at 2 each, but it doesn't go in. Hits the bar, hits the post even, such as football in Australia are chasing, but they look a bit more revigorated after that. They've got the ball at the moment. Riley McGree in the midfield, comfortably in possession. Suitor to McGree. France putting pressure on them, but they're able to break Jackson Oven on the right-hand side. Plays it back. Australia have the ball, and they're looking like a bit sharper now that's put a bit of momentum and a bit of spring in their step. We are 47 minutes into 6 minutes of added time.
That's bound to give them a bit of hope that they can get at France and create chances if they do get forward. They just have to try and maintain it.
Absolutely, they have created chances, and it was another let-off for France to add to the Mitchell Duke longe effort when Australia already 1-0 up. Hugo Lloris looked beat and it just went wide of the post, and now the post saves the day for France from that Jackson Oven header. Australia will definitely feel like they can get back into this as long as it stays at 2 for as long as possible. There is the chance that a bit of magic could get Australia back into this game.
Yeah, it's definitely there for them, but they just need to be very careful at the other end. Keep solid at the back, and all it takes is a set piece, which they haven't really had yet. They haven't, to the best of my knowledge, haven't had a corner or an attacking free kick, something like that. Boy to take it, and you never know.
Yeah, I don't believe they have had a corner kick. No, they haven't had a corner kick this evening. Credit to France, they are keeping them at bay from the set pieces, which is an area where they might feel like they can be more of a threat. Australia, they're on the ball at the moment. It's a cross ball to Goodwin, well intercepted by Pavard, and could that launch France into a counter-attack? Ousmane Dembele on the right-hand side. He's got options in his middle. He's got 3 Australia players in front of them to deal with that. Aaron Moy's stray pass is picked up by Ousmane Dembele. France comfortably have the ball again as we're into 49 minutes here in 49 minutes in Qatar. Mbappe to Chukwuemende. France just playing it about, looking comfortable. They don't want to be caught like that again, especially before half time. So they might settle for the 2-1 win or 2-1 lead going into the second half. It's Pavard on the ball. Pavard to Upamecano. Kanate back for support. Kanate gets it to Pavard. But a minute left of the added on time. Coming up for half time. And France just playing it comfortably along the back. They look settled to take the 2-1 lead into half time.
Yeah, it's kind of petering out a little now this first half. I think both teams, France after that scare now, will just try and get in and regroup.
Yeah, both teams just want to get in as Aaron Moy tried to play a forward pass towards Matty Leckie, but he's not there. And that falls all the way back to Hugo Lloris. Yeah, both teams look like they just want to get into the changing rooms now and regroup and reassess. I think both will be relatively happy, all things considered, with how this half has turned out. Australia might have potentially thought that they could have been in a higher situation going into the second half, especially when Mbappe missed that huge sitter. And France will be good for their lead going in to the second half. Could it get better for them here? Mbappe's on the ball, tries to get past Atkinson. Atkinson does really well to get past or to beat Mbappe onto the ball. He tries to play a long pass to Mitchell Duke, and the halftime whistle has blown in Qatar, and it is at halftime France 2, Australia 1. Sean, what is your assessment on that first half?
It's been quite an entertaining half, Jack. Australia doing very well to get in front. Great goal from, it was Craig Goodwin. Great finish at the back post, and then you're looking for them to hold on a bit, but France showing their class to get back in the game. Free header from Rabiot, and they really punished some slack Australian defending. But Australia should take some heart. That Jackson Irvine chance at the end of the half. Just this game is still there for them. They just need to show a bit more belief going forward.
Yeah, it really has been an exciting first half of football. 9 minutes in, Craig Goodwin gets on the end of Matty Leckie's ball across the box to take it past Lloris and give Australia that one goal lead that lasted just under 20 minutes when Adrien Rabiot headed in the equaliser. And then 5 minutes later, Olivier Giroud with his 50th international goal. What a way from Thierry Henry's record. Could he break that into the second half? We'll have to wait and see. Or can Australia get back into this? They're certainly in the game at the moment, and we'll be back in just over 10 minutes' time for that second half. And welcome back to the Commentary Hub's coverage of the FIFA World Cup. We are half-time here in this particular game, the evening game, 7 o'clock kickoff, France versus Australia. And at half-time, it's France 2, Australia 1. We are a few minutes away from the kickoff to the second half. But in that first half, it really was explosive. And we've seen a couple of 0-0s in this tournament so far. I think we're glad that this isn't going to be a 0-0 this evening.
Well, we didn't want to have 3 in a row. I think that would have been unheard of for a World Cup. So glad to avoid that.
I think that would have been unprecedented. The 0-0 draw between Denmark and Tunisia was the first 0-0 draw of the World Cup. There was only one in 2018, funnily enough, that involved Denmark versus the team playing today, France. And we've already had 2 already in this World Cup. Not a good sign, but good that we've got some goals in this game and some talking points as well. I mean, what were we thinking 58 minutes into the game? We're talking about them looking fairly comfortable in the game as well at 1-0 up.
Oh, well, you and I had France eliminated after about 10 minutes with the way Australia had started, but they soon showed their class getting back into it. But you never know now in the second half. Like Australia, really, I think they won't want to come out and get a 4 or a 5-1. Now they're still right in the game, but they'll also not want to get a bad beating because they've got Tunisia next. Tunisia and Denmark drew today. That's an opportunity for them if they could get a win there. Go into that last game then with Denmark in a winner takes all situation, perhaps, or even a point might do them.
Absolutely, and coming into the second half, if they do even get a respectable result, then they'll come away with a lot of enthusiasm for the remaining 2 games. And the second half has kicked off here. The second half has kicked off even in the Al Janoub Stadium. And the ball, Australia trying to play it long straight away. Well dealt with by the French defence. That's going to be big for Hugo Lloris. So Australia already trying to lump the ball up the park in the early stages of the game.
I do think not enough's made about goal difference at times and how important it is. Like, it's fine margins at a World Cup, and allowing your like the likes of Ecuador against Qatar the other day, if they had gone for it a bit more, and they really could have won that 3 or 4-0. They may live to regret that.
Absolutely, in groups with so little games, it often does come down to the goal difference. And if there isn't anything to decide it, I believe it was Senegal in 2018 went out on a fair play rule because he had too many bookings, which was unprecedented. The first time that had ever happened.
There's no good way to split teams at that stage, but that does feel particularly cruel.
Absolutely. Australia on the ball now. Ball across the Irvin. Duke tried to get a shot away. They've got the ball back again. Looking for his options. Jackson Irvin on the right-hand side. Feeds in Atkinson. Tries to get the turn on Upamecano. Theo Hernandez is there in support. And he gets it out for a corner, I believe. That would be the first corner of the game. Has that been given as a corner? It has been given as a corner. And the first corner of the game for Australia.
Yeah, a chance now to get the man up from the back and put the ball into the box. And this is where, I'm sure they've worked on this. They'll have known they won't create loads from open play. So going to have to get their set pieces spot on.
Yeah, they're a tall team there, Australia. And the referee just stopping the corner from coming in to speak to a couple of Theo Hernandez, I believe, of some shoving in the box. Something we've seen often. The referee seems to look for what's happening in the box now rather than the ball coming in, as we've seen in the Argentina game this morning. It's going to be delivered in now for Australia. It's a front post corner and it goes away. Can't beat the first man. Australia, however, have the ball back, all the way back to Matty Ryan. Australia on the ball at the moment with the left-hand side. Number 14 for Australia is Riley McGree. And the ball's all the way up. And away by Ryan Griezmann. Good touch there in the middle of the... He's off Moy. Good play. Giroud. Giroud with Pavard. Good defending there from BH. Pavard has a little kick at him there. And the ball's out of play for a France throw-in. France on the ball at the moment with Pavard. Pavard to Chikamendi. Oh, sorry, it was Dembele even. It was Dembele play up against him, and Dembele wins the free kick. It's going to be taken quickly. Antoine Griezmann in the middle of the park at the halfway line to Theo Hernandez. Hernandez to Pamecano. Chikamendi to Pavard, back to Kanate. France just playing it along the back line, probing the Australia defence, seeing if any opening will show, and there might be one there. Theo Hernandez, bend down and go on the left-hand side. Can he get the space in the middle? Nobody's there. And it's Chikamendi, shots away, and it's deflected. Australia managed to get it away there. But Theo Hernandez with all the space in the left-hand side and just nobody to get the ball into there for France. And it's going to be Hernandez again on the left side. Can he get a good delivery this time? To Olivier Giroud! Oh! Overhead kick from Giroud to equal the record. And it goes miles wide for the Frenchman.
What an effort that was. Imagine that had brought about the record.
That would have been quite something. And again, Theo Hernandez on that left-hand side has been excellent for them since coming on for Lucas Hernandez. And as you mentioned, the threats from the wide areas, it just seem even more lethal with Hernandez darting down from left back.
I think it's very indicative of Deschamps that he went with Lucas rather than Theo in the left back slot, just valuing that defensive solidity over, the attacking flair of Theo Hernandez. Different managers. I think you look at the more attacking managers like Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp would never entertain that idea. Deschamps just has that defensive instinct.
Yeah, obviously Deschamps be concerned about Lucas Hernandez, but it has worked out well with Theo Hernandez on the park. Australia on the ball at the moment, well defended by France. Rabiot's stray pass intercepted by Irvin. The referee blows for a free kick for France. Outside their own box, Matty Leckie fouling Theo Hernandez. Take a look at that again. Yeah, it gets so it was Riley McGree even on Chikamendi. Seems to be where the foul was committed. Chikamendi on the ball now. Plays it back to Kanate. Kanate to Benjamin Pavard. Kanate back to Pamecano, playing in the left side of that centre half pairing. Of course, Raphael Varane on the bench for France this evening. Lovely play there by Kanate towards Ousmane Dembele. Kind of work a bit of magic now. Jumping in the inside, tries to get a ball across to Mbappe. It was the right idea, well intercepted, but the ball is with Mbappe now on the left-hand side. Skips past Atkinson. Tries to get the ball all the way to Pavard. Well dealt with. Antoine Griezmann's header from the clearance is intercepted in Australia. We're going to try and go on the break now, and it's just not good enough. And that really has summed up Australia since, about 27 minutes in the game. They're just struggling it seems as if they're trying to do more than what potentially they're even capable of doing, with some clever option passes, but just can't seem to get them away, and France just pick up the ball again.
Jack, something I was going to ask in the first half. There's quite a large Scottish influence in the Australian team. A couple of players for Hearts and the likes of Jamie McLaren, who used to play in Scotland, and Jackson Irvine. Is that been a thing for a while? Has it been a natural home for them, or is that since Postecoglou's impact at Celtic?
I think it's a mix of both. I mean, you look at, there's always been a history of Australian players in Scottish football. Scott McDonald, of course, played for Motherwell, played for Celtic. Ryan McGowan has always been a mainstay, right back among Scottish teams. I don't believe he's at the World Cup this year. I think because, as well, there's so many internationals or Scottish eligible internationals who are also eligible to Australia, that they end up getting picked up as well. And yeah, as you said, there's been a good few players in there. When it comes to Postecoglou's influence, I mean, really, it's only Aaron Moy in the team who has been in and around Postecoglou, but there is other players in there who have been in and around school well before that. Jackson Irvine originated from Celtic, and as we've just seen there, Jason Cummins looks to come on, former Rangers man. He's Scottish, born and bred, but finds himself in Australia. Could he work a bit of magic for them coming off the bench? He's not on just yet. Australia have the ball at the moment. On the left-hand side, BH, Aaron Moy. Of course, one big notable omission appeared to be Tom Rogic, who used to be a mainstay in the Australia midfield, but after leaving Celtic in the summer, he went to West Brom, found himself very little football, and as a result has been completely frozen out of the Australia team, something I think he'll be disappointed in.
Yeah, it's a real shame that Rogic was always a very good player to watch. He had a great left foot on him, great strike from outside the box. It's something that they could perhaps be doing with tonight, but if he's not getting the football at club level, it's very hard to select him in a case like that.
And Duke there just fouling Usman Dembele even. That was a cynical foul by Mitchell Duke, the striker, on Usman Dembele, clearly just trying to take him out to prevent a counter-attack, and rightly ends up in the referee's book there.
Yeah, I think it was a deserved card, but not too impressed with Dembele there rolling around. Afterwards, he made sure the referee noticed that one anyway.
Yeah, it seems to be there's never any stopping the rolling about to make sure that the referee knows that you're hurt. I think it was Akram Afif in that opening game. I think he'd done about 6 or 7 rolls after being tackled on the ball.
It's so unnatural. If you go down hurt, it's going to make you more hurt to roll about like that. It's just, it's part of the game now.
Exactly. And as 55 minutes into the game, still France 2, Australia 1 on the commentary hub with myself, Jack Hesson, and joined alongside me is Sean Kelly. And as we just seen on the TV there about a minute or so ago, Jason Cummings looking ready to come on. It looks like perhaps the substitutes are ready to be made. In fact, Mitchell Duke is going to come for the former Hibs and Rangers striker, Jason Cummings. Could he make any kind of difference? He is that kind of player who really gets in about it. And despite being written off before, this would be the real stage for him to shine, the Central Coast Mariners striker.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that bit of X factor about him anyway. He's a lively personality, Cummins, and he just could show something different. Duke on a yellow card there too, so probably the right time to get him off after that tackle a couple of minutes ago.
Absolutely, you can't run the risk of any potential sending offs, and especially look as well, Mitchell Duke has struggled to get into the game. He had that shot in the first half that almost caught Hugo Lloris and would have sent Australia 2 goals in front at that point in time. But apart from that, he's shown some good physicality, he's shown some good hold-up play, but he has struggled to get into the game this evening.
Yeah, he's just very isolated up there. I mean, Lecky did well for the first goal, but he's not been in the game much either. They just haven't really got the front three in it. They've played okay at times, and when they have got forward, they've looked all right. But it's been a real backs to the wall kind of performance so far. Yeah, you don't know what the conditions are like out there either. Like it could be, I know it is later at night, but I imagine it's still quite hot. So
what's difficult is, from what I've been hearing as well, is that the stadiums are extremely air conditioned. So I'd seen a couple of people on the radio and I've seen some news things as well saying that some people are quite cold or quite chilly in these stadiums because the air conditioning is just so strong. Again, we don't really know how that would affect it. We're not there, but I mean that could have its own effect if you're going from a different temperature from what you've been training in. They've obviously all been training in the extremes and going into an air-conditioned paradise by the sounds of it.
Yeah, this was not quite natural either. So I just don't know what kind of impact that'll have.
Exactly, it'll be interesting as this tournament goes on to see how that is the case. Stray pass there by France, but it's well picked up by Canati, and France have the ball again. Ousmane Dembele, clever bit of footwork, still on the ball, almost lost it, but gets it back to Canati to Pamecano, Theo Hernandez back to Pamecano. France comfortably have possession at the moment, high up in Australia's half. Ousmane Dembele to Pavard, Griezmann. Some nice football here from France, playing Australia's midfield. And the one thing you have noticed is as soon as Rabiot and Chouameni have came into the game more, that they've really put a foothold in. We talked about Australia really putting the pressure in the midfield, and France really have been able to withstand that pressure and get a grip in the midfield area with two players who, as we said, we were talking about Pogba and Kante being out, but Chouameni and Rabiot have fairly well this evening in the midfield.
Yeah, they've grown into the game. There was a lot of holes in that midfield at the start, but both have got more composed as the game's gone on. And Rabiot's had a big impact in particular. He's
Rabiot on the left-hand side, and it's all the way across. Sorry to interrupt you there, Sean, but the chance there from Rabiot to get it across. Mbappe tries to flick it away, and again, France dangerous there, and the clearance almost falls to Matty Leckie, but it goes out for a throw into France.
Yeah, France they've been a bit sluggish in the second half so far, looking to up the pace a little bit.
Yeah, they have been slowing down a bit. They will be looking for that third goal to make themselves feel a bit more comfortable. They had the opportunity on a stroke at half-time when Kylian Mbappe open goal essentially to put the ball into the back of the net and couldn't do so. Australia then ran up the park and Jackson Oven hit the post, and that could have caused issues for France, and are playing some good football here. Kylian Mbappe, is he an own goal? And good defending there from Harry Suter, I believe, at the back for Australia to stop Kylian Mbappe from bearing down on goal.
That's the kind of football you want to see from France with the talent at their disposal. It was absolutely brilliant build-up play. And Mbappe very close to getting in there. Good defending.
Yeah, it was good defending, and Australia almost caught out there, but at the back line, heroic defending to stop Mbappe from getting an opportunity. As we mentioned, though, from that chance they missed, there's not a massive guarantee he would have scored it from there, but I should know that. And it's going to be a corner now for France to deliver. It's a poor corner, but it's because the referee had already blown for some tugging in the box. He's going to allow the corner to be taken again, tugging between Giroud and Jackson Oven. The defenders do need to watch out in these situations. Mbappe to deliver the ball. It's a short one, and it's almost in, and Australia get the ball away, well cleared. Theo Hernandez all the way back. Hugo Lloris, and as we noticed there, the referee looking at any potential tugging in the box. There was an issue in the Argentina game versus Saudi Arabia where the referee was right on top of an instance such as that, and he was quick to give the penalty. I believe they have been informed as well that they need to be more careful. Refs need to look out for these things more in the box. It'll end up leading to more penalties, as we have seen in this tournament so far.
Just going back to our earlier conversation there, Jack, did I read correctly in the build-up to this that Harry Suter and John Suter are brothers?
Yes, they are brothers. And Mbappe overshot Antoine Griezmann. He's got the ball, and Jackson Oven gets it away for a corner. We'll pick that one up when we get a bit of a break in play, but at the moment it's a corner for France. Antoine Griezmann to take, Mbappe in the box this time. A couple of poor corners from Kylian Mbappe. It's Griezmann whose turn to deliver it this time, as the corner is waiting to be taken. Griezmann delivers, and it's a header away, and it almost falls to Mbappe at the back post, but it's miles away from Canati. Good opportunity there for Canati to go into that.
Canate's show towards the end of last season with Liverpool, he is a threat from set pieces, but probably a bit disappointed in himself there.
Yeah, that one just went wayward. And yeah, going back to what you were saying, yes, it is correct that Harry Souttar and John Souttar of Rangers are brothers. Harry Souttar is Scottish born. As we were talking about players like Jason Cummings in there, they are Scottish born, but they represent Australia at national level. So yeah, you are absolutely correct in that.
A bit like the Boateng brothers from a while back, Jerome
Yes,
and
yeah.
Kevin Prince.
And Granite Xhaka and Toulon Xhaka as well, I
That's right.
believe they were.
Yeah,
Jason Cummins
representing
almost putting a
different
bit of
nations.
pressure on Hugo Lloris there. France are able to break away from that. Can Dembele get the ball? Kyle Rose is there to clear. And Moy on the ball now. And France have it back. Good physical play, and the referee is going to blow for a free kick. Yeah, and I believe the Xhaka brothers played in the Euros against each other for Albania versus Switzerland as well.
Yeah, they did. That's right. And I think the Boateng brothers did at the 2010 World Cup as well.
I think they might have. Yep, I can't remember exactly, but
The two
Xhaka
nations
definitely did.
definitely played anyway, but whether they were both on the pitch, I'm not sure. But
Well,
I
maybe
think
2026 Scotland will play Australia. Let's hope for that. Chukamendi on the ball now in the midfield. Gets it left to Theo Hernandez. Hernandez to Chukamendi. Good pressure there from Australia. And Jason Cummins there putting a bit of pressure on Upamecano. Chukamendi's down now, holding his leg. This could be a serious concern for France if he's injured. Might just be a bit of play acting. Difficult to tell at the moment exactly what's happened there. We'll get a good replay of it now. And Jackson Irvine gets him in the foot there. That's a sore one from Jackson Irvine on Chukamendi.
yeah, not a nice challenge there for the Real Madrid midfielder. That's another player that certainly couldn't afford to lose.
Yeah, they've already got injuries, as we've mentioned, options on the bench for them. They could opt for Matteo Guendouzi, of course, former Arsenal midfielder. They could opt to potentially change the shape as well to accommodate some of the other players, or even Eduardo Camavinga, who's not a bad replacement if he was required.
I'm surprised that there was no talk of Camavinga starting. I know he's not playing every week for Real Madrid, but very exciting young midfielder.
Well, from whenever I've watched Real Madrid, it seems like he's more of an impact player. He always seems to come off the bench and put a good shift in whenever he does play. I noticed it on the run up to the Champions League, to winning the Champions League, that he would often come on near the end of the games and it would help them see them out or help them get over the line if they needed to in that Champions League run. So perhaps just too young at the moment to be a regular starter for either Real Madrid or France. I'd imagine in the next few years or so, we'll definitely see him leading in that midfield. He has a quality talent, Camavinga.
Yeah, he's a good player. He looks like he has all the tools to stay in that Madrid midfield for years to come.
And France on the ball at the moment. Giroud to Antoine Griezmann. Lovely bit of interchange there to get the ball. Switch the play to Hernandez. Mbappe to Hernandez again. This is great football. Hernandez to Mbappe. Griezmann! Is it over the line? No, it's not. It's cleared by Australia.
Oh, it's
what an opportunity.
Incredible clearance there. Is it Behic?
Defending. Yeah, it was heroic defending there by Australia after some great build-up play. But they're on the ball at the moment still. Kylian Mbappe, can he get it across? And it's all the way over, but only as far as Ousmane Dembele on the other side. Can Dembele get the ball in now? He gets the ball in to Kylian Mbappe, and in! France take the 3-1 lead. 67 minutes played, and it looks like it was Kylian Mbappe with the clutch.
Yeah, you have to say he's deserved a goal tonight, Jack. He's been direct from the start. He's been trying to get at the Australian defence. Missed the sitter in the first half, but he made no mistake there. That's a great header.
Yeah, some really good pressure football there from France. Really put the pressure on Australia after a great bit of play beforehand. Heroic defending by the defence to clear it off the line. But they come again, and that's a great ball as well by Ousmane Dembele. Hernandez on the left plays it in to Mbappe. Mbappe gets it across initially. It's poor, but luckily for him, Dembele's there to pick it up on the other side. Dembele, bit of tricky footwork, gets the ball in, and it's a clinical header by Kylian Mbappe, who, as I said, is interchanging and is link-up play between the French midfield and the players out wide. He's shown real promise today, and really well-deserved goal. And France are now 3-1 ahead against Australia.
Yeah, it's a long way back for the Socceroos now, you'd have to think. They were already struggling to get any real chances at 2-1, and you have to think 3-1, that's probably game over for France.
You would think so, but Australia will definitely feel like they could come again. 22 minutes left in the game. Do they have enough in there to get another couple of goals? It's difficult to tell. France just looking really clinical on the ball, and from spells of this game, they just look like that world-class team that went and won the World Cup back in 2018.
Yeah, they do look the part again. You wonder about that midfield, like how it would stand up against, perhaps stronger opposition. But when you have players like Mbappe on the pitch, write France off at your peril. Because
Absolutely, as
he,
we did
he,
in the
he, he
first
look
15 minutes.
he look he looks in form here.
He does, and this will be a big statement from this World Cup if he was to able to grab a couple of goals. I had him myself to get the golden boot at this World Cup, and he is looking sharp. But above all else, obviously his goal scoring talents aside, as I mentioned, his build-up play and play with the rest of the team is particularly good. He's a player who's often regarded or seen as perhaps one of a selfish nature, but when you really look at some of the quick, intelligent passes and link-up play that he's able to do with other players, it seems like the exact opposite. He seems like the real team player.
Yeah, I can't confess to knowing everything inside out at the club, but you wonder, is that the nature of how things are at PSG? Because he just looks a completely different player when he plays for France.
He absolutely does, and we're getting a replay there of just before the goal, the almost certain goal by Antoine Griezmann, cleared off the line by BH. He'll be gutted that the clearance has essentially meant nothing for him now as he went up the park and scored. Can France go again here? They've got the ball in their own half. It's Upamecano to Kylian Mbappe on the left-hand side. Mbappe takes it past Atkinson. He's going to keep advancing into the box. Kylian Mbappe, Olivier Giroud! 4-1 to France, and it's the record levelled for Olivier Giroud, supplied by Mbappe, and Giroud writes himself into the history books once again for France. It's 4-1 to France. Australia are 1 and France are 4.
Well, we were singing his praises just minutes ago, but that is absolutely outstanding play from Kylian Mbappe. The pace to get us past Atkinson, and then the composure to pick out the cross. He's put that on a plate for Giroud, who's made no mistake, and he's level now with Thierry Henry.
Yeah, you noticed on the left-hand side there, the way he just almost looked for his options in the box, and instead of trying to look for the pass, knew he could advance forward past Atkinson there. And when he did, it was just explosive. Pace almost stops, goes again, gets a beautiful ball in, and Olivier Giroud does what Olivier Giroud always does for Montpellier, as he did for Chelsea, and as he's always done for France. A clinical header and really a well-deserved lead. France have been absolutely excellent since they got their equalising goal, and they've just went from strength to strength in this game since then.
Yeah, they've been a class above on the night, really. The shock of that early goal aside, they really have stepped it up. As you say, since the equaliser, they've looked very good. They haven't been fancied by perhaps as many people to do well this time, but they looked as good as anyone we've seen so far.
And really for Australia now, it is just damage limitation for them. Can they stop this from potentially getting worse? You look at we talked about goal difference. You look at Denmark. I don't expect Denmark to be as open as Australia have been. You look at Tunisia, they're a defensive sort of minded, don't even expect them to be as open as Australia have been in this game. So if Australia are going to get anything, then it is going to come down to goal difference, and they want to try and stop the bleeding while it's happening at the moment.
Yeah, they need to just dig in now, and this game's gone for them. So I think it's all about if they could get out of this at 4-1 now, that would be from this point a result because even for morale, if you go down 5-6-1, hard your players are on the floor after that. It's hard to pick them up. But I do think Australia should look at this and take this in isolation. The game against France wasn't going to define their tournament. It was the game against Tunisia and the game against Denmark. And with those two drawn earlier, they still have a real chance of qualification. They need to just try and put this out of their minds.
Absolutely, it's difficult to completely write them off on the basis of playing against the world champions. Keep in mind, and it is still all to play for them, almost in this group when they come up against Denmark, and then perhaps more crucially for them, the game against Tunisia, where they maybe even be expecting to get 3 points in that one. Couple of changes for Australia just a minute ago. Riley McGree and Craig Goodwin coming off for Aware Mabille, and Zhirang Krul, who come on for McGree, and the goal scorer Goodwin, who hasn't really been in the game much since then. From the ball at the moment, it's long ball up to Mbappe. Can Mbappe work his magic again on the left-hand side? Atkinson gets the better of him this time.
That Australia-Tunisia game on Saturday will be fascinating now because both Tunisia, as you say, quite defensive-minded, but they've got to be looking at that now and thinking if they can get a win there and get on to 4 points going into that final game, they have a real shot at qualifying. Whereas Australia will be thinking, if we get a win, set up that clash against Denmark, winner take all. It's set up for a fascinating watch on Saturday across both group games.
Well, it is probably, I think, the most interesting group in the World Cup. One of, especially, because it is so wide open, I think, between Tunisia and Australia. And obviously, Denmark are a stronger team than those two. But getting that draw against Tunisia, a game they might have expected to have came away with 3 points to try and seal the group. Before we'd obviously be looking at France and Denmark to easily see out that group. But while France might go ahead and push on from here, it's a bit tougher, I think, for Denmark. And it seems as if they're going to be dragged into a bit of a dogfight between these three teams now.
Yeah, I mean, it would be no surprise if France beat Denmark on Saturday based on this showing, and then you're sitting on 1 point after 2 games, and you're hoping that something's gone for you in the other clash, but you really don't want to be relying on other results at that stage. So this group's going to go to the wire by the looks of things.
Absolutely, and yeah, you definitely would expect France to beat Denmark. However, as I mentioned in the previous 2 games back in June and July, or June and September even, Denmark beat them twice. That might have been in the Nations League. This is a completely different level altogether, but Denmark will be going into that and thinking, yeah, we've got their number, essentially, potentially.
So
we'll see.
We've had France getting eliminated by Denmark at the weekend, and now we have France eliminating Denmark. So covering all bases.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we can never be wrong. Then I don't think
No.
if we cover all the angles. A couple of substitutions there by France. Youssouf Fofana on for Aurelien Tchouameni, who's had a really good game in the midfield. N'Golo Kante, who really he's been that good for them. And Ousmane Dembele, again, a solid game setting up for Mbappe, comes off. And Kingsley Coman coming on, not a bad substitution to make, bringing Kingsley Coman on from the bench.
What a player to have sitting in your reserves. I mean, he can frustrate at times, but there's not. Coman's one of those rare players in world football. He's a mercurial talent, I suppose you would describe him as, and he's got the winner in a Champions League final. He's won league titles every year of his career, I think. There's very few players could say that.
Yeah, of course, he won the league title with Leicester City, and then went and won the league title with Chelsea as well. I believe the first player to do it back to back, 2 different clubs.
talking about Coman there. Sorry,
Oh, sorry.
he's he won the titles. He was at Juventus, Paris Saint-Germain, and Bayern, and he's won the title every year of his career, I think.
Yep, no, that is absolutely correct. I believe he just kept winning it. When he had more winners' medals than he did appearances for, I believe it might have been PSG at the time. He is playing his football in Munich now.
I think he's due a move to Manchester City at this rate.
That could be the case. I think teams will just sign him now on the basis of, well, we've signed him, so we'll have to win the league now. But Australia on the ball at the moment, looking to see if there's anything they can do in the last 12 minutes of the game, plus however much is added on. They're on the ball and BH on the left-hand side, looking for options in the middle. France putting a good bit of pressure onto them there, so he gets it back to Kyle Rolls. That's a good cross pass to Irvin. France on the ball now. I believe that's Upamecano who's fouled in the middle of the park. The referee gets his yellow card out for Jackson Irvin.
That's another thing they'll be looking to avoid, any of those going into the last 10 minutes, because 2, I believe, and then you're suspended for the third game. So just no cheap bookings or anything like that. This game, as I say, has gone from them. So they just keep their heads now and play smarter going into the final 10.
And that's Jackson Irvin's second cynical foul of the game. Finds himself in the book for the second one. Didn't get in the book for the first one against Chukwuemeka. Referee has been relatively lenient in this game. Only 2 yellow cards, one for the substitute Mitchell Duke and one we just seen there for Jackson Irvin. The France line-up being completely clean this evening. And Australia are on the ball at the moment. The ball's on the right-hand side with Matty Leckie. Well intercepted there. And Moy gets it back. Moy to Irvin. And Irvin all the way back to Harry Suter. And Australia probing at the moment, potentially try and get a consolation, but France look well good for their 4-1 lead here.
I feel quite sorry for Aziz Behic in the left back role for Australia, because he did brilliant clearance there to deny Griezmann a goal. And then you think back to 2018, it was him who it goes down as an own goal, but it was desperately unlucky when the ricochet off Pogba, and that cost Australia the game back then. And then he's done his utmost to keep them in it, and then minutes later it's 3-1.
Yeah, you would feel absolutely gutted if you're BH and you've made that kind of crucial defensive challenge, and was astray. Mbappe on the ball now for France. Can it get even better for Kylian Mbappe? Good bit of footwork, gets the ball back to Giroud to try and smash the record, and it's hit away, but it goes as far as Coman on the right-hand side. Coman plays it back to Pavard. Pavard to Griezmann. Griezmann to Fofana to Coman. Back to Fofana. All the way back to Kanate. Kanate to Rabiot. Rabiot looking to switch to play. Jason Cummins put a bit of pressure on him, but Rabiot was able to see it off. Upamecano now plays it in the midfield to Fofana. Fofana, good link-up play to Coman on the right-hand side. Griezmann tries to play it to Coman, and it's intercepted. Aaron Moy tries to tackle Mbappe. Good footwork from Mbappe there, but Moy comes in for seconds and wins the ball. Antoine Griezmann nicks the ball, gets it to Kylian Mbappe. Couldn't get better, and his touch just isn't enough. And he's angry with himself at missing that opportunity. It could have potentially went 5 there for France.
Yeah, Mbappe would have been licking his lips there, receiving the ball in that kind of area, but just maybe a lapse in concentration has undone him.
Yeah, you can forgive him for a lapse in concentration. 4-1 up in this game. Already got himself a goal. Great ball there from Antoine Griezmann. and the touch is just almost not enough. It looks like he's trying and nearly gets it under control, and it just falls away from him in the end. France on the ball at the moment. Rabiot to Mbappe. Loose pass. Jason Cummins and France are there to collect it. Every second ball just landing back in France's lap. That wasn't the case for them in the first 20 minutes of the game. They did find themselves 1-0 down to Craig Goodwin's opener for Australia. Took them about 20 minutes to get up to speed, but since then they've just been relentless.
Yeah, France have looked the part. I have to say, I watched England yesterday. Thought England played very well. The Netherlands slightly less impressive, but they got the win. And obviously Argentina stunned this morning. But I think France have looked the best out of the so-called contenders so far.
Definitely, I think so, and I think they showed real strength in character as well to be 1-0 down, to be struggling to get into the game in that opening 20 minutes and find your feet, and from there just take it forward. A stray pass there from Kanate even goes all the way out, and Australia have the ball. Another couple of substitutions coming on, this time Australia. Jackson Oven of FC St Pauli, formerly of Hull City, I believe, and Burton Albion. Celtic, got very few appearances at Celtic, went to Ross County, really plied his trade there, playing regularly. Got himself a move down to England, and now he's at FC St Pauli in the Bundesliga 2. Atkinson also comes off. Jackson Oven and Milos Degenek and Bacchus come on to try and salvage anything for Australia in this final 5 minutes plus add.
Big step up for the likes of Atkinson tonight. I think he'll be glad to see the back of Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah, well, he's had an education. It seemed like at times he was really doing well to keep him under control, but when you're up against a player like Kylian Mbappe, you can only do that for so long before he ends up breaking past you, and that's shown in this game. Australia, however, on the ball at the moment. Good link-up play, almost gets it to BH, but France are able to that again. They're going to try and push out from the midfield with Kanate. Tries to play a clever pass to Pavard, and it just goes out for a throw-in. Australia have the ball now in the middle of the park. 85 minutes played here on the commentary hub. It's France 4, Australia 1. Australia even took the lead 8 minutes into the game with Craig Goodwin. But from there, France seen it out, and 4 goals. They are good for all 4 of their goals this evening. And they have the ball in their own defence. Kingsley Coman. Falls to Rabiot. I said Rabiot been one of the star performers for France this evening. France on the ball at the moment. Kingsley Coman. Coman to Pavard. And yeah, France just looking to settle in and be happy really with the 4-1 advantage they've got. We mentioned before, they don't really set the group stages alight like they did in 2018. They didn't really set the group stage alight. But this is a good statement from side. And as we mentioned as well, in response to England winning by 6-2 against Iran yesterday, you really think the top teams that are going to go far are going to make these statements now?
Yeah, well, they've set the benchmark now, both sides. Thought England were very impressive in what could have been a tricky game, and France, I fully expected France to win this one, but they have shown a lot of class tonight. So they've set the benchmark for the likes of Brazil, yet to get going, Spain and Germany, Belgium all playing tomorrow, Portugal with the now unshackled Cristiano. So we'll see what they've got.
Yep, Cristiano Ronaldo having his contract terminated by Manchester United. Probably the best thing for both parties there. And it will be interesting to see what impact that has. Now, those, as you said, shackles are off Cristiano Ronaldo, and what Ronaldo we're going to get, because this will be his last push as well. We'll talk about Messi and his last World Cup. But this is his last push as well for a World Cup also.
Yeah, you do wonder as well within the camp. Like you've got Bruno Fernandes there. Like, has that caused any tension? It would take some good management from Fernando Santos to make sure that doesn't have an impact on team harmony.
I think that's why this termination of his contract is came at a good time for Ronaldo. Substitution, just to tell you about Benjamin Pavard coming off. He's had a relatively quiet but solid game at Rack, and I believe just waiting to see who is coming on in his stead. And it's Olivier Giroud also coming off. He's going to have to wait if he wants to smash the record, but I feel like he will end up doing it at this point. Marcus Schuurman of Borussia Mönchengladbach coming on, and for Benjamin Pavard, it's Jules Koundé coming on instead of Benjamin Pavard. But Olivier Giroud, he's going to have to wait if he wants to smash the record, but surely he's going to do it at this tournament.
A great night for Giroud. Took his goals well. First one was a tap in. Second one, meat and drink for him. That ball stood up to the back post and he can place his header in, and it's a night he'll never forget. And I'm sure he's got another one in him.
And the ball's played in by Griezmann. Griezmann delivers into Konaté. Good save there by Matthew Ryan. Stopped it from getting worse for Australia. That was a great save. However, Konaté, free header in the box. Again, another good opportunity. I feel like he maybe should have got the fifth goal of the game there.
Yeah, it's a good chance for Konaté again. That's the kind of chances he was putting away towards he got a couple against Benfica in the Champions League. He scored in the FA Cup semi-final against Man City. Probably more difficult chances than those. But that's a top save from Matty Ryan too, because the ball's bouncing, it's coming up at a height, and he's done well not just to save it, but to claw it away.
Yeah, absolutely. The bounce there that takes, it's so awkward for a goalkeeper, and he makes a really good save of that. We're coming into now, still waiting to see how much added time is going to be added on here. It's going to be 7 minutes of added time this time. Fran Wall looking to and grab another, like they nearly did just there with Konaté. And it's Griezmann looking to try and play that ball across again to Hernandez. And if anyone deserves a goal today, it would have been Theo Hernandez. But it's well caught by Matty Ryan, not causing too many issues, but a dangerous chance again to potentially have grabbed the fifth for France.
Yeah, Australia just hanging on now and looking to see this out at 4-1. I think they can be relatively proud of their performance. I don't think they've been exceptionally poor or anything. They've just come up against. I think they almost annoyed France by scoring that first goal.
I think that's exactly it. They just annoyed them. They've been absolutely clinical since the equalising goal. They got the second goal just 5 minutes later. Bit of a scare around about the halfway mark with Jackson Irvine nearly grabbing an unlikely equaliser, but the second half they've just been nice. Even from the first half where they were, relatively decent, they've just stepped up a gear. They found another gear to step up to in the second half, France.
Yeah, they've coasted through the second half, and then when they've needed to, they just give the ball to Mbappe and watch him go.
And we are 92, coming up to 92 minutes on the clock. It's France 4, Australia 1. France have the ball comfortably in Australia's half. And the ball's going about to Kwande on the right. Plays it back to Pamecano. To Fofana. To Konaté. Konaté to Rabiot. Rabiot, good play with Griezmann to Kwande on the Kingsley Coman, even on the right-hand side. Coman tries a bit of footwork. Gets it back to Rabiot. It was to Kwande now on the right. Plays it into Coman. Good turn by Coman there. And Mbappe is going to find himself with the ball when it's out for a goal kick. Good defending there from Australia. Not said that much in the second half.
Yeah, I think it's always important as well to look at the context of things. I mean, you've got Harry Souttar in defence, plays for Stoke, and he's been in coming back off a long layoff from injury, hasn't played much football. You've got Kai Rolls, who's playing with Hearts, Atkinson with Hearts, Behic is at Dundee United. I mean, no disrespect to the SPL, but this is a massive step up in the level. And as I say, I don't by no means do I think Australia have disgraced themselves tonight. They've just come up against a really, really top side.
Absolutely, and I think the one thing that you notice as well is that yeah, there was a couple of mistakes in there. They are going to happen when you're playing one of the best teams, if not the best team on the planet. But overall, I think they've looked solid, but they've also forced France to step up a gear. I think this has been a really good performance by a France team who have had to try and step up to get past Australia. It's not been a cakewalk for them. I mean, it was only 2-1 up until the 68th minute, and then it was a quick fire fourth goal. So, I mean, all in all, you look at the context of that, it's really not been a bad game at all for Australia, despite the scoreline.
No, no, they definitely should take encouragement from this going into the weekend. They just need to try and be a bit more creative. You'd imagine, would have more of the ball against Tunisia, so it'd be different to see them that day. I do quite like Aaron Moy in midfield. He can usually pick out a pass, so we'll get to see more of him in that game.
Yeah, he's been a mainstay in the midfield, and he has just picked up a booking there and a challenge on Theo Hernandez. Bit of frustration than anything else at this late stage of the game. 94 minutes on the clock. We've got another couple of minutes of added time to go, and France have the ball at the halfway line. So Upamecano out on the left to Theo Hernandez. Hernandez to Rabiot, and as we are coming up to the end of the game, I will give the honours to yourself in just a minute after this attack by France. Kwandu on the right gets it to Kingsley Coman, and he can't keep it in. Has the referee deemed it a goal kick? He has. And Sean, I will give you the honours then of who was the player of the match in this game now that we are coming into the closing stages.
Well, I do think the easy decision here would be to give it to Giroud on the night of his history leveling performance. It was 2 goals, but I think it would be doing an incredible disservice to Kylian Mbappe. He has been absolutely electric in this game. He missed a great chance in the first half, but didn't dwell on it. Got himself a goal with a great header in the second, and then absolutely brilliant play to set up Giroud for his second goal. So no question for me, Kylian Mbappe, player of the match.
Yeah, he really has been the spark in the midfield. He's obviously playing in the left hand side. He is traditionally more of a striker for PSG, but I think that's what's quality about this France team. They've got players like Mbappe and then Antoine Griezmann, who are just the real link between the midfield and the attack, and the link up play is just absolutely excellent as a result of that.
Yeah, they've really shown Griezmann in particular. He's not really stood out tonight, but he still had a solid game. Mbappe showing his willingness for the team by drifting out left, and yeah, Dembele had a good game as well. It's quite a frightening prospect for the rest of the competition.
Absolutely, and you would assume that France even will get out of this group now and going forward when they come up against the stronger teams, who they are going to face and how they will react to that. But as we mentioned, we've noticed it here, they always seem to step up a gear. However, it's Australia on the ball now, coming on to 97 minutes. BH on the left-hand side comes up. Could that be an opportunity? BH, can he find any space in the middle? There's Jason Cummins there, and there's just too many French bodies in the way. Gets across in, Hugo Lloris there, and really in the attacking sense. And something that's perhaps went unnoticed is just how well defensively France have been. And that is the full-time whistle in Qatar. And France have it didn't go all their own way in the opening 20 minutes or so, but once they found their feet at this tournament, they really kept stepping up again and again and again. That Craig Goodwin goal looked like Australia could have potentially got something out of the game, but it was maybe too early for them on 9 minutes. Took France 20 minutes to get into the game when Rabiot headed in from Griezmann's cross. From there, the record breaker Olivier Giroud grabbed a goal in the 32nd minute, and then in the 71st to break the record. And in between that, of course, Kylian Mbappe stepped up with the goals yet again on the 68th minute to give France a comprehensive 4-1 victory there. What are your final thoughts then on that, Sean?
Deserved win for France. They've got the tournament off to a positive start for themselves. They've been a bit more gung-ho than I thought they would have been, but I suppose they were spooked after that start from Australia. France in a very strong position now. You'd imagine they'll go on to certainly qualify from this group and more than likely win it. Australia can take heart. You look at that goal, quality play. Just came up against a very good team on the night, but they have everything to play for going into match day 2.
Absolutely, and just to note as well that you gave the player of the match to Kylian Mbappe for his impressive performance. Anyway, thank you for listening to the Commentary Hub's coverage of the World Cup 2022. France versus Australia. It finished France 4, Australia 1. Thanks for being here with me, Sean, and really giving me company around this game. It has been a great game of football.
Been a pleasure, mate. Looking forward to the next one.
Absolutely looking forward to the next one, and you all enjoy your evening. Good night.